All right, Shalom. There's a brother in the hall here from the GMS Orlando camp. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yasher Allah, and a sincere salutation to all you Akim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwath who will believe in this word in all truth and in sincerity. All right, I want to go into a lesson through the Spirit based on this recent news of the recent UN meeting. All right. And, what's starting to happen through the Spirit is Esau's being called out for being a hypocrite. All right. These UN, NATO councils, the rules change according to Babylon the Great, which is America, and Amalek, which are those small hats. I'll just say it that way. All right. Now, this recent meeting, it was a very theatric meeting because the Israeli ambassador shredded the UN charter with a tiny shredder. All right, because they were presenting the idea of having the Palestinians become a member of the organization. All right, so I just want to play a little bit of this clip before I get these precepts, Lord willing.
So many of you are Jew hating, you don't really care that the Palestinians are not peace loving. Ignoring the charter and granting the Palestinians the privileges of a member state, you are proving that morality is just a slogan for you, while politics and interest prevail. This is your mirror, so that you can see exactly what you are inflicting upon the UN Charter with this destructive vote. This is You are shredding the UN Charter with your own hands. Yes, that's what you're doing, shredding the UN Charter. Shame on you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Now, what I want to highlight through the Spirit and Payah Bashim Al Shai is this recent, I believe this is at the same meeting, and this is the Malaysian representative, and he had a statement to say, concerning what's being done over there in the land, in the Holy Land, all right? And everybody is starting to see the writing on the wall that the rules only apply to a certain group of people and they don't apply to the other ones, and these nations are starting to point these things out. All right. So, Lord willing, I want to get the beginning of this because it hits the highlight of this conversation and then get a little bit more. But before I do, let's go here. This is Job chapter 20 and verse 4. And it reads, Knowest thou not this of old, since man was placed upon earth, that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment. All right, because now these nations are beginning to rise up. All right, they're beginning to speak out against what's being done and the fact that there's no equity. Esau, under his deception, is giving people the impression concerning the other nations that they all got an equal say so, that they all have to abide by the same rules. And what you're finding out, or at least these other nations are finding out, is that the rules only apply to who Esau wants them to apply to. All right, because these small hats are wreaking havoc over there, man. All right. It feels that if Russia was doing the same thing right now, all right, they would be all over the front page of CNN and Fox News for some of the things that these small hats are doing over there in that land. All right. But because they're not the enemy, because they're a friend of Babylon the Great, which is America, the scriptures call it a respecter of persons. All right. And the other nations are starting to recognize this. And this is why they're starting to be more vocal in these UN meetings. All right. This is Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 6. And it reads, Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, Woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, how long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. All right, and they're taking up these parables. All right, you're about to see a little bit of that right now, Lord willing. So I'll start this from the beginning.
Palestine has beyond doubt proven itself worthy of membership of this organization. In contrast, Israel continues to breach international law, defy UN resolutions, as well as vilify and malign the United Nations and its officials. Israel's actions, which each passing day inevitably raise our doubts if it actually believes in the UN system and values its membership in this organization. The offensive gimmick of shredding the UN Charter we witnessed in this chamber last Friday is just another example of Israel's utter disrespect of the United Nations. The carnage in Gaza must.
So, beginning with our apostles on down, you know, there's always this talk about Esau, the son of perdition. All right, but these nations are beginning to wake up. All right, they're starting to rise up and they're starting to see the game for what it is. These theatrics that Esau's been able to pull, all right, it's starting to fall apart. All right, matter of fact, let's go here. This is Isaiah chapter 14 and 9. And it reads, Hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. All they shall speak and say unto thee, Art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? All right, and the reason that they have this pride, or not even pride, the reason that they have this desire to speak up is because they now have options. When you deal with Russia, Russia has presented an opportunity for nations um like the African nations, to speak out against Babylon the Great, which is America. And this is why you have these nations start to rise up against Amalek, all right, those small hats, because those small hats are the first of the nations. That's Amalek, all right. Matter of fact, this is Numbers chapter 24 and 20. And it reads, And when he looked on Amalek, he took up his parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations, but his latter end shall be that he perish forever. All right. So the first of the nations, all right, the first of Esau's nations, the chief house of Esau, if you will, is Amalek, which are those small hats. All right. And they're being called out, because ultimately it's hypocrisy. Esau rules Slovakia. So Esau, he rules under this idea that the world is getting freedom and democracy under his rulership, right? But then Amalek is able to change the rules as he goes. He can decide that, he don't want to follow the UN Charter. He can shred it. The same agreement that they're all supposed to be a part of, he can just decide he's not going to abide by it and he's just going to shred it. And you know what? In that same meeting, all right, the U.S. voted in favor of Israel, the state of Israel. So it shows you these nations are starting to wake up and realize Esau Edom is a hypocrite. All right. Now, right now, it's mainly directed towards the Edomites in the west, all right, and the Edomites in the state of Israel. But eventually, the Lord's going to rise up against all of them, and He's using those Russian Edomites, all right, as another option on the world stage. But the world is waking up to this madness, man, and they're starting to see that their countries have to follow rules that other countries don't. Scriptures talk about the respect of persons. You're not supposed to have respect of persons. And this is why Esau is not fit to rule, because everyone is seeing that. One of the things that Russia always talks about is this term, and this term is called American exceptionalism. All right, I'll go here real quick. It says American exceptionalism is the belief that the United States is either distinctive, unique, or exemplary compared to other nations. All right, and that is the sentiment. All right, and you can throw the Holy Land in that same equation. The state of Israel, you can throw them in the same equation. They don't believe that they have to follow the rules like everybody else, but then they'll enforce the rules on everybody else. All right, and this Malaysian ambassador is an example of what all these other nations are seeing. Just some of them are not as vocal as others. All right, I want to go here too, Lord willing. Yeah, let's go here. So here at PewResearch.org says the problem of American exceptionalism says our values and attitudes may be misunderstood, but they have consequences on the world scene. All right, and you can apply this to the small hats over there in the state of Israel, because without these Americans, they don't stand a chance. All right, they're really a welfare state when you look at it. All right, and all of these antics that they're able to get away with, they're only able to get away with it because they're funded by Esau Edom. All right, over here in the West. All right, I won't get into this because it's a little off topic. So I'm gonna go back to this speech, Lord willing.
Stop. The international community must demand proper accountability processes, starting with thorough, transparent, and independent international investigations on all breaches of international law, including possible acts of war crime and genocide in Gaza. The fundamental United Nations founding principle of equality among nations must be extended to the state of Palestine.
And see, all of these nations are recognizing that there's a genocide, if you will, happening over there in the state of Israel. All right, all of these nations are recognizing that, and this is why even with some of the Western media outlets, they're starting to say certain things like that. That what's happening over there, is a crime against humanity. And in these type of meetings, everybody has the impression that they have an equal say so, or that the rules apply to everybody. And the reality is that they don't, and that's because the world is ruled by a hypocrite. All right. As a matter of fact, let's go here. This is Job chapter 27. And I'm gonna jump to verse 7. It says, let mine enemy be as the wicked, and he that riseth up against me as the unrighteous. For what is the hope of the hypocrite, though he hath gained, when Yahweh Shema Shai taketh away his soul? Will God hear his cry when trouble cometh upon him? Will he delighteth himself in the Almighty? Will he always call upon Yahweh Shema Shai? All right. And the answer is no. And this is why the scriptures talk about the other nations not pitying him. All right. Matter of fact, let me see. Let's go here. This is Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 16. And I'm going to get it in the NLT. It says, but soon it will be your turn to be disgraced. All right. Yeah. In the NLT, it says, but soon it will be your turn to be disgraced. Come, drink, and be exposed. Drink from the cup of the Lord's judgment, and all your glory will be turned to shame. All right, now the point that I really wanted was up here in verse 9. Or let's start here at 6. So I'll just get this in the NLT and read starting at 6. So Habakkuk 2 and 6 in the NLT reads, but soon their captors will taunt them. They will mock them, saying, what sorrow awaits you thieves? Now you will get what you deserve. You've become rich by extortion. But how much longer can this go on? Suddenly your debtors will take action. They will turn on you and take all you have, while you stand trembling and helpless, because you have plundered many nations. Now all the survivors will plunder you. You committed murder throughout the countryside and filled the towns with violence. What sorrow awaits you who build big houses with money gained dishonestly? You believe your wealth will buy security, putting your family's nest beyond the reach of danger. But by the murders you committed, you have shamed your name and forfeited your lives. All right. And see, the nations are waking up to this. They're understanding that they're in a system that is not in their favor. They understand that they're in a system where the rules don't apply to everybody the same way. And this is why you're going to have so many nations go with BRICS in Russia, because they're seeing how the West, all right, and the state of Israel, they're seeing how they conduct themselves. And ultimately, there's a respect of persons amongst them. All right, because what's happening right there is clearly acts against humanity, crimes against humanity. And I made that comparison. If the Russians did all of this the same way, There will be another conversation on the world stage that they're not having now. At this point, it's getting to a point where you can't even speak on the subject, which shows you that these are not the people of the Lord, because the scriptures don't talk about them having the ability to censor people when they speak against them. As a matter of fact, the scriptures talk about us being proverbs and bywords amongst the nations with no might in our hand. Because being able to control the media is a form of power. To have your narrative pushed globally is a form of power. And see, these nations are beginning to wake up to the madness. They're starting to see the writing on the wall that they live in a system where things don't apply the same way. But they've been told that, right? They've been convinced. That's why they show up with these suits and ties and they play this game because they believe that everybody's playing fair. But what's happening in the state of Israel is a perfect example that's being made known to these other nations that you're not in a game, in a fair seat in the game, which should be obvious based on history. But again, this is the Lord using these moments as provocation, all right, for the next step in prophecy. All right, so I'm gonna let this play a little bit longer.
I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Malaysia.
Mr. President, my delegation thanks you for convening today's plenary meeting following the joint request by the Arab Group, Non-Aligned Movement, and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Malaysia aligns itself with the NAM and OIC statements and adds the following remarks in its national capacity. Mr. President, after more than 7 decades since the adoption of General Assembly Resolution 181 in 1947, which partitioned Palestinians' land into Arab and Jewish states, Palestinians continue to be denied their right to statehood. In contrast, Israel was accepted as a full member in 1949. Since then, the world has been witnessing turmoil and bloodshed in the land of Palestine. For 7 decades, Israel's illegal, brutal, and inhumane occupation has dispossessed Palestinians of their lands, properties, rights, and dignity. It has taken the lives of countless numbers of innocent men, women, and children, and continue to do so to this day. The current hostilities in Gaza are the latest episode in the already long history of Palestinian struggle under Israeli occupation. After about 7 months of relentless Israeli military onslaught, more than 35,000 deaths have been recorded, about 70% of whom are women and children. That is nearly 15,000 children and 10,000 women killed. The discoveries of mass graves in the compounds of Al-Shifa and Nasser hospitals are deeply concerning. The numbers of deaths among humanitarian workers and media personnel have also reached new records.
So they over there killing staff, civilians, anybody can get it. All right, the man is on a blood. I can't even explain it. You know, the man is on tilt. You know, and the world is seeing this, and now they're being called out. All right, and the world is starting to witness. Okay, well, if the Russians are bad guys, these guys are doing something that's illegal as well. Why aren't they getting punished? And the world is starting to recognize that this man is a hypocrite in judgment. All right. And this is why they're going to start to turn more and more to the Russians. The fact that they're able to even get up at the UN and say this type of shit, excuse my French, shows you that they no longer have the same fear of the West like they used to. And that's why the scriptures say, have they become weak as we? Because now they're being, that proverb is being taken up against them. All right. Real quick, this is Job 15 and 34. It says, for the congregation of hypocrites shall be desolate, and fire shall consume the tabernacles of bribery. All right, and when you look at this political system as a whole, whether internationally or domestically, it's a sophisticated system of bribery. All right, through campaign funding, all right, through contracts and grants. All right, it's really a sophisticated system of bribery and corruption. And this is why justice does not go forth under this system, because the one who's ruling it is not a just man. All right, which is why in Habakkuk, the second chapter, it says his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him. All right, but the just shall live by faith. All right, matter of fact, I'm going to get that, because that is being said beginning with our apostles on down, but now the world is beginning to wake up and see it. All right, this Habakkuk 2 and 4 says, behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. And one of the ways he did that was by telling everybody they got an equal seat. Let's start the UN Council. We all have a fair say so. We can handle issues diplomatically. And now we're in that time where all of these guys trusted it, all of these nations trusted that system, and now they're recognizing, oh, the rules don't apply the same to everybody. You know, even though this is a very small situation, it speaks to a bigger situation through the spirit that the man of perdition is being revealed. Esau Edom, the self-proclaimed white man, is being revealed for who he actually is, not who he's pretended to be. He set up these institutions that don't work because they're not built to work. They're built to favor him. That's why the whore that sitteth upon the beast is America. And through this system, the UN and the EU system, she's able to dictate her will, not equity, but her own will. All right. Matter of fact, let's go here. This is Jeremiah chapter 51 and 7. Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore the nations are mad. All right, and now they're starting to wake up. And they're starting to realize, oh, we've been sold a dream that's not real. And this is a perfect example. They're coming up with these long, lengthy speeches about something that's plainly obvious, that Amalek is on a warpath over there in the state of Israel. And Babylon the Great, which is America, is protecting their deeds, protecting their crimes, honestly. All right. And this is showing you through the spirit that the heathens are beginning to wake up to what's going on around them. And that's all through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai. All right. What he's doing is not outside of the Lord. All right. As a matter of fact, let's go here. This is Proverbs 21 and 1. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. All right. And now the Lord is turning the hearts of these nations to recognize and to move according to the Lord's will. All right. And that's why they're starting to resist this system. They're starting to call these things out because everybody's able to see it. With technology the way it is, everybody can see what's happening in the earth. All right. Everybody has a cell phone, even though those people over there in the land of Israel. So they're able to document a lot of the things that are happening to them. And the world is witnessing it. And they're also witnessing who's protecting and allowing this to happen. All right. So Lord willing, this was edifying. I just want to go through that through the spirit. With that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Bakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yahshua Allah, and the sincere citation to all Yuakim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwath, who are believing this word in all truth and in sincerity. Shalom.